I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Welcome to the Northwest Bank Studios for the Beat Reporters on somewhat of a bye week. It's a bye week for football, but it's not a bye week for us hardworking local media folks. I'm Jake Brend, joined by Ben Hutchens of the Quad City Times and Rob Gray of the Cedar Rapids Gazette and Cyclone Fanatic. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Never better. That Pentagon was pretty cool. I'd heard good things and was impressed.
Rob, I'm guessing you've been up there before, right?
Yeah, I've been up there. I was up there in the Quayberg era, so it was very new then. Even though they tried to make it feel like an old venue, with all the wood and all the accents, it's a nice place. One can say from afar, from an objective standpoint, why in the world are teams from all over the country coming to play in Sioux Falls, South Dakota in November? But it's a fun venue and a nice little intimate venue. Gets really loud. I mean, a bandbox, you might say, going back in the day. But really cool place.
Yeah, as the guy told us, the representative from the arena there, they don't have 85 degrees and sunny beach property to sell in Sioux City, South Dakota, or Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So they got to step up their hospitality and, to the media, but also to the teams. You heard TJ talk about just how much that event means to him, and he's been there before at his previous stop. So I think, they really treat those teams well, which is how they get them up there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was blown away. I didn't know as much about the Pentagon or the event as I thought I knew until I went there. Like, I just assumed that it was 100 years old or something when you watch on TV. And when I saw it's the 100th of this, I would have assumed it's the 100th year or something like that. But no, it's the 100th game. And it's you said it well, Rob. They do a really good job of making this pretty modern building look like a historic gym, and it was a cool event for all around, and it did get really loud, sounded like Hilton Northwest. Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we'll get into the game, but first I got to thank Kelderman Manufacturing. I don't think Jeff Kelderman was at the game on Monday night, which is shocking to me. I know he makes a lot of trips up to South Dakota for, I'm blanking on what the big motorcycle show is, but I know he is up there every year. Maybe it was Sturgis, yes, the Sturgis Festival. Maybe it was a little too cold for Kelderman to ride his motorcycle all the way up to South Dakota. It was chilly up there in the parking lot. But then again, it's Jeff Kelderman. I could be selling him short. He could have easily ridden his motorcycle up to South Dakota in the middle of frigid temperatures. Kelderman Manufacturing, he's a diehard Cyclone, and even more important, he's dang good at his job. He can handle all of your manufacturing needs, from signages to trucks to, if you just need any idea of who he is, check out his YouTube channel, Kelderman Manufacturing on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the type of stuff that he can do. It's Kelderman Trucks on YouTube. You can just see all that he does with motorhomes, with trucks, with tractors, motorcycles, everything. Kelderman Manufacturing, if you're into that type of stuff, he should be your first call. We appreciate his support of the Beat Reporters. The Cyclones, wow, what a win up there in Sioux Falls on Monday night, 96-80 over Mississippi State. Does that win? Does the, fashion of that win, does that change either of your expectations or anything similar to that for Iowa State men's basketball this year?
It does for
you
me.
were on site, yeah.
Rob, maybe you're thinking the same thing, but man, how soon the offense is coming together is so ahead of schedule, in my opinion. And Chris Jans, he actually used that term. He said some of Iowa State's freshmen are ahead of schedule. And I think that's been the most positive sign. You're not going to beat Iowa State if they score 98 points, if they score 100 points like they have in one game this season, and they've been around that clip. And no, they're not going to continue to do that. But at the same time, Mississippi State was an NCAA tournament team last year. Josh Hubbard is an experienced guard, and he played well, but he couldn't handle Iowa State's pressure, and that it leads into each other. So yes, the way Iowa State is scoring the basketball early, utilizing these freshmen, it's impressive and it's ahead of schedule. So I'm forced to say the Cyclones are above kind of where I expected them to be at this point in the season.
Yeah, I would say that, and I certainly deferred to you, Ben, since you were on site, and I slacked off and just covered it from the TV and listened to John and Eric. But same reasons, I agree. But also, again, TJ has stressed not so much how great their half-court defense must be, but how much they must turn people over. You forced 26 turnovers. What was the turnover point steal? 29-7, something like that. 27-9, one of those, but just very decisive. I think Mississippi State shot it better than it usually does. I think they got it up to about 50% by the end of the game, but that doesn't matter either if you're forcing that many turnovers. And these guys are all bought in on that. You see Touré's length on that. You see Bateman's relentlessness and just the way he moves his body. I mean, we see Blake Buchanan doing the deal on guards, with all due respect to Brant Chatfield, and he did some best he could in some of those situations with his footwork to handle those switches. But Buchanan's got that, and so you have those things on that end. The transition play. Dom Nelson's going to be an adventure, I think, in shooting the basketball to some extent all year. He even referenced it on the radio, where it's like he was upset with how he'd been shooting free throws early in the season. It's definitely shot him better on Monday night. These guys are doing those things that you say, play for the other guy, play well together. And with as TJ has said, TJ Otzelberger said, a rotationless group right now, playing 10 guys, they're all giving something. And that's another thing that TJ stressed. And I mean, when you've got guys feeling good about being on the floor, however long it is, that's going to raise your ceiling too. I came into the season thinking this, until you see them play, the ceiling probably Sweet 16, which we've seen TJ take his teams to with lesser talent, at least in one case, twice before. I think the ceiling is higher now, and the floor remains pretty high. So lots of things can change, injuries, all that stuff. Things can pop up, but that was an uber impressive win against a team that's been to 3 straight state NCAA tournaments, and even though they're not picked that high in the SEC, that's a loaded league as well, and where they would be picked, it's probably they'd be an 8 or 9 seed in the tournament. So that's as you guys have both said, a very impressive win.
Yeah, and I think as far as my expectations goes, I feel like I was a little more bullish than most coming into the year, and a lot of it had to do with going from Deshaun Jackson to Blake Buchanan. I thought that would do a lot for Iowa State's interior defense compared to last year. But even if I was a little more bullish, I did not see that coming at all on Monday night. I was kind of in the same boat as you, Rob. I think I would have said, yeah, the ceiling is probably a Sweet 16, maybe like the extremely high ceilings like an Elite 8, maybe if a couple bounces go your way. But I didn't think that this team had near the upside as last year's team, or maybe even the team 2 years previous. But from what we've seen from the perimeter defense between Lipsey, Touré, Bateman, Heisey, Nelson, it's the best of the Otzelberger era. I think TJ compared it to his first team on Media Day, and I think the more I look at it, it seems comparable when you consider what Tamin is doing, as you can see there if you're watching on YouTube, that the interior defense with Buchanan flying around, and that doesn't even mention the half-court offense that I think has also been a lot better than I expected. And some of that is just the presence of Buchanan and Plata being there to clean up misses. That's the putback element isn't really something Iowa State's had since Hassan Ward. And if you can add that with what Milan will eventually do, I'm sure, and of course what Jefferson and Lipsey are bringing every single night, it's got the potential to be a really, really complete Iowa State team.
9 different players credited with a steal. Like, it's not just the perimeter guards, that were effective against Mississippi State on Monday. And I think with Tamin Lipsey's stat line, like, how are we 10 minutes into this conversation and say he got his career high?
Yeah.
I mean, is this the best offensive basketball that Tamin Lipsey is playing? Quite possibly. I don't know about you guys, but what I watched, he just took what was there. He was so good at getting to the rim. I think the other element with Buchanan is he's such a good screener up high that he opened the door for a few easy layups for Lipsey. So that was certainly an impressive component to watching this Iowa State offense. And man, that was my big thing is Iowa State loses its 2 leading scorers in the backcourt. We all know it. And Tamin Lipsey last year didn't have the offense. He was hurt. And this year, he's so good offensively. It's so fun to watch. I think that's what's maybe going to elevate this Iowa State team to another level.
Yeah, it's a great point because I was watching it when he got up to 17 pretty quick. And I was like, what is his career high? Because I was looking at it the game before. And yeah, 22, that's right. And he gets that 3 with 3 minutes and change left. And early in the game, he was really short on those shots. I mean, so he's a guy that went from a real struggle bus offensively as a freshman to a really good offensive player with the help of shooting, Eric Crawford helping with the shooting mechanics and remaking his shot. And then, as you said, Ben, the injuries. But this is a renaissance and a recharge, a revamped, a new and improved even Tamin Lipsey. And as you said, I mean, Plata got dinged for a couple of moving screens, I think, but he'll get there in terms of the high ball screen as well. But great point on Buchanan too, though. He's so skilled, and obviously early on he was struggling, and he came and told us how TJ talked to him and said, "Hey, you're gonna get a double. You're gonna be really productive." And look at what he's done the last couple of games, and that goes with that ceiling too. And also Joshua Jefferson. I mean, gets the 2 fouls. They're playing so well that they feel like luxury. We can just rest him. Also a guy who's battled injury. So, hey, whenever you can get him a few extra minutes off the floor, he still gets 18 points. He is an automatic 18 points and such a great facilitator. I think that's one of the reasons they're so good in the half court. Best I've seen them in the half court. The way they move the basketball, and the freshmen are great at that too. So there's never a drop-off in that area. Jake, you cut up my favorite play that I asked TJ about a couple of games back where they whipped it around 6 touches. And Milan touches it twice and gets the assist, Milan. So, I mean, that's just continuing. And again, that adds to that ceiling we've been talking about.
Yeah, when you talk about Tamin Lipsey, this is why I love having Ben around, is that I forget. It feels like Ben has been on the beat so long because you're so good at your job, but I forget that you didn't get here until last year. So you didn't have the freshman Tamin experience. You didn't have the sophomore Tamin experience. And I know when we were grabbing a bite to eat up in Ames a couple weeks ago, when I mentioned something about I thought as a sophomore that Tamin Lipsey was Iowa State's best player. And you were like, oh, really? Like, to you, he'd always just kind of been a role player because that's more of what he was as a junior if you look at it offensively and statistically. So I know it was a bit of a renaissance for you on Saturday night to see what that is. But honestly, it was a renaissance for me too, because I think when he was at his highest peak as a sophomore in that Big 12 tournament run, in the NCAA tournament, I think what I saw Monday night from him was even higher than that. And Rob, you can stop me if I'm overstepping my bounds, but this was the first time where I really felt like Tamin had that Monte Morris type presence of a calm, of kind of a never sped up. Like that play right there that just showed, I think was the best example of it. It feels like Tamin has way more control over the game than he has at any point in his career.
No, I would agree there, and he was very commanding that sophomore season, but that was a different team, and again, he's just a sophomore. It's just like you say, the command, and that's something that TJ touched on when he spoke to Don Walters on the Cyclone Radio Network after the game. He commanded the game. He controlled the game. He was the best player on the court, and that's saying something. I mean, and again, talk about the game slowing down. I mean, he looks slower at times because he's in such command, if that makes any sense.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels like it's methodical, even though it's fast, until there's that fast break layup and the fake pass, and then there's the run in to tip the ball out to somebody else and all that stuff. I mean, he is playing at not just an all Big 12 level, he's playing at an All-American level, and obviously one really good team to compete with, back to Stonehill College coming up on Monday, but with all due respect to Stonehill College, but again, the look in his eye, the way he moves, you don't see that, so last year you felt like at times Tamin probably should have had a cane even when he was playing. He just gutted through it, and that's who Tamin Lipsey is. But I think, yeah, I would, but long-winded way of saying it, but I agree that this is a different Tamin Lipsey, a guy who he can win the ball, he can win the game for you with the ball in his hands, whether he shoots it or passes it.
He is definitely playing with some extra sauce right now. I thought I saw it a couple games ago, and I asked Jefferson about it, and he said, "Oh, Tamin does it every day." But man, he had a fake behind the back pass. I don't know if you guys caught that. He kind of gave a little fake behind the back pass and then scooped it up and in. Maybe that's the most exciting play to watch is Lipsey, in transition, one-on-one. So fun. I can't wait to see what he's got for the Stonehill College guys.
Yeah.
So I think now's probably a natural time to progress into that rotation question. And Milan Momcilovic only played 16 minutes in the win, scored just 5 points. Joshua Jefferson, he only played 6 minutes in the first half, and a lot of that was he picked up 2 quick fouls. The team, I mean, if there's an impressive part, the most impressive part about Monday, it was how the freshmen just took over the game when Jefferson went out and Milan was struggling. What is it to make about Milan right now and not really playing much of the second half despite winning by double digits?
I would, yeah.
Well, go. I mean, I was just gonna say, Rob, like this dude is 2 games removed from setting his career high in 3-pointers. It's like, it's not like he's playing bad offensively right now. It's completely the opposite. I think it is much more of a case of what TJ Otzelberger's philosophy is, and if it's not broke, don't try and fix it. With the rotation and with scoring all those points. But Milan's arguably playing some of his best basketball right now, and even he, wasn't able to get on the floor all that much in the second half. Just an interesting case study in what this Iowa State basketball team's all about.
Yeah, that was a point I was going to make. I mean, just go back to the 1 for 14 from 3 and the exhibitions, and then Milan comes out and just scorches the net, 7 of 10, really ultra efficient on the move, and with his other shots too, which TJ said he was most impressed by in that season opener. And then didn't shoot it that great. But again, the last game, I believe, prior to Mississippi State was one of those games that TJ said would be quote unquote a bad shooting game for him. I think he was 3 for 9 from 3. I think he said he would figure a bad shooting night /day would be 3 for 10. So I mean he's right there. He's shooting 52% from the field. I wanted to pull up his stats. 46% from 3. He's averaging almost as many rebounds as last season, which and more assists, double the assists. 1.3 steals versus 0.4 last season. I mean, 1 turnover. I mean, I think TJ's going to rotate guys, and if it's working, it's working. And if it's an early season game, look, when they need to win tough basketball games against the Houstons, against the Arizonas, against the Kansases, the Texas Techs, on and on and on, the BYUs. Milan Momcilovic, as TJ also said early in the season, he's high on that scouting report, and he's going to be asked to deliver. And I think Monday night was just a matter of, hey, stuff is working. We can rest Milan a little bit more. That's fine. And I think if you ask Milan, I think he was probably fine with it as well. But well, I guess we'll get a chance, tomorrow morning if he's available. But I don't know. I'm with you, Ben. I mean, he's playing excellent basketball at this point, and whether he plays 16 minutes or 33 minutes against Mississippi State is, I don't think, a big indicator of anything.
Yeah, when Iowa State has as many pieces as they do, like they're truly going 10 deep at this point, and it more seems like a 9.5 deep when it comes to who's got it tonight, Plata or Mulder. It feels like those guys are both going to go into a game early, and TJ's going to choose one of them after a couple minutes stint to be the backup big that night. That's kind of the read I've gotten so far. And when you look at Monday night, Iowa State grew their lead to 20, and they were rolling offensively. Pretty much no matter what they did, they were rolling. At that point, they just needed stops and to not let Mississippi State get back in the game. And when you talk about not wanting Jefferson to play the small ball 5 a ton, to preserve his health, so you've got Buchanan in there, or Plata. You've got Jefferson. And then the way that Iowa State's defensive backcourt moves when you've got Tamin, Torre, and Heisey in there, or you can throw Nelson and Bateman in that in any combination as well, it just kind of makes sense to have that be your defensive lineup. And if it means anything, I was playing body language psychologist right by the Iowa State bench all day. Milan's body language was great. He was standing up cheering for his teammates. There was no pouting or anything like that. So there was no heating pad either. It didn't look like any nursing injury. It just, to me, it seemed like a matchup thing, and I wouldn't panic about it if I were a Cyclone fan.
Yeah, one more thing I'd like to add, and you mentioned stops. What struck me is when they didn't get stopped. Mississippi State's trying to fight back in the second half. It got down. Iowa State got up 25, and then they seemingly hit 3 after 3. And Iowa State answered with a basket or free throws every single time. So they got it to whatever it was, 14, 15, 16, whatever it was in the second half. But once they got that lead, how many times have we seen Iowa State, because they struggle offensively, let teams go on big runs? And Mississippi State tried to do that, shooting the 3, I think, better than they normally do. And Iowa State just answered what might be called bad defensive possessions with great offensive possessions. And that's another wrinkle. It's not just, sometimes your offense can be your best offense. and their ability to do that is unlike any, so far, again, it's very small sample size, is unlike even when you have Keyshawn, Curtis, Hammond playing healthy, there wasn't that same element, I don't think, and I think that is partly because of the presence of the bigs and the putback factor that you touched on.
Awesome. Well, that was a good basketball convo to wrap up an exciting win Monday night. We'll be previewing Vegas next week in our basketball conversation. I can't imagine we'll have too many Stonehill takeaways, but we'll be previewing a busy Thanksgiving week. We'll move into the new president conversation, but first I want to thank Farm Story Meats for being on board with us at Cyclone Fanatic. I mean, Thanksgiving is 2 weeks away, and where else would you rather get your meat for that day than Farm Story Meats? It doesn't have to just be turkey. You can get beef, you can get your pork, chicken. I know people in Iowa go all out for Thanksgiving, and it's not just limited to one bird, so you can do that. You can get any of your meat bundles at Farm Story Meats. It's all homegrown, it is pasture raised, and it is family owned. It's all supporting local farmers, and we know that we at Cyclone Fanatic, we are supported, and we are supported and funded by local farmers. So the best thing that you can do to help Cyclone Fanatic is go to farmstorymeats.com and check out all of their great meat bundles for tailgating, for holidays, for all of that good stuff. We appreciate Farm Story Meats and their support of Cyclone Fanatic. Iowa State University has their 17th president. David Cook comes from North Dakota State, born in Ames, graduated from Ames High, graduated from Iowa State. He's got just a couple ties to this community. Ben, I know you were at what was the official term? Was it an introductory press conference or just the Board of Regents announcing the new president? What were some of your takeaways from being in the room at the time?
Yeah, let him cook. The Iowa State burners guys are already, coming up with the profile pictures. I think they're already falling in love with David Cook. You see the edits of the sunglasses, and I think he's already become a great fit because of all those things you mentioned, Jake, with the born at Mary Greeley, went to Ames High, graduated from Iowa State. I mean, this guy felt like all along maybe the front runner because of those connections and the North Dakota State thing where he was at a land grant mission institution. You see him posting on LinkedIn at NDSU at the football games. He said he got the NDSU players, the football players, to help move students in at the start of the semester. So maybe Rocco Becht will be moving couches around. I doubt it. I don't think that's what you want Rocco doing. But
keep that shoulder healthy.
Yeah, exactly right. But anyway, it was fun to be there. Fun to hear from Cook, and we got to do a little press conference with him. And of course, I'm the sports guy. I had to ask about the athletics component of all of this. And guys, it does feel like Cook's going to prioritize athletics. He's one of those people who talked a lot about the budget, and it's going to be his first priority when he takes over on March 1 next year to kind of understand Iowa State's finances and communicate with the state legislature and all of that stuff that goes above our 3 pay grades to try and figure out how to get some money into this university. But I asked him about athletics and how much of that is a priority when it comes to funding and all of those things. And I'll just read the quote. He said, "Athletics is incredibly important to an institution. There are a lot of different things that can be perceived as the front porch of an institution, but certainly athletics are right there front and center. They help with reputation, they help with brand, enrollment of students, giving them an opportunity to feel deep pride in the institution." And he said, "Where I come from, North Dakota State University has a very strong pride in athletics, and I've done that work at the University of Kansas as well. So I will tell you, it's a critical component of a president's role, and Iowa State athletics here is going to be a real priority for me." So I think he'll be around. I think he'll give Iowa State athletics probably the due, funding and attention that it deserves. And he certainly, I think, recognizes the importance of that.
Yeah, the key obviously is that legislature component. Williams and Bloom have talked about it. It's no secret. Some states have already really gotten fully on board to making sure athletics programs are fully funded for when, you have that magic $21.5 million and up figure year after year after year. And you need somebody who can successfully communicate with those folks who can be interesting, get them on board, or there's always the fees stuff, but we're an athletics focused show, but obviously it's a very challenging time academically for academic institutions, and has been for decades with tuition skyrocketing and everything. So he's got a lot on his plate, but that front porch element is important. I mean, it's one of the ways you attract students, right? I mean, some students will make a decision. Oh, this is a good engineering school. This is a good engineering school. Boy, look at their football team. Or look at, their men's basketball and women's basketball, whatever. And so, yeah, that's a highly encouraging quote. And again, a born and raised in Ames guy, a Tamin Lipsey of sorts as the president of Iowa State, university. So, very encouraging words from him, and there are going to have to be a lot of actions, because if Iowa State's going to stay competitive, there's going to be, I can't imagine there's not going to have to be some element of state funding, and that's not just at Iowa State here, but Yeah, it looks like he's excited to be back home, and looks like a great fit.
Yeah, great fit is the first thing that comes to mind. You have someone that wants to be in Ames. You have someone that this doesn't feel like a stepping stone. Not that the Cornell individual was going to use it as a stepping stone, but you always worry about that, whether it's a coach, an athletic director, a president, and luckily right now it seems like Iowa State's got 4 positions in place that none of them seem like stepping stones, from Cook to Pollard to Campbell to Otzelberger. Like, having that continuity seems really, really important. And of course, the impact of this isn't something that will be felt really for probably 3-5 years when you welcome in a new president. But everything that you shared, Ben, seems super encouraging, and every college around the country should be hiring presidents that are not sports focused, but aware and people that care about the importance of sports, because that front porch policy, it is the thing that makes a lot of these institutions go. And I know I watched back the Jamie Pollard address to the student government about a month ago, and the numbers that he shared and how much free marketing Iowa State Athletics has given Iowa State University just through being on ESPN, through playing in Ireland, through playing in the NCAA tournament. He said he talked to the principal CEO to have him estimate that, and it's millions and millions of dollars that the university doesn't have to spend on marketing because the sports do it for free. And that, I'm glad that it sounds like Cook is another one who understands the importance of that.
Yeah, this is a super faulty analogy, so don't be poking all sorts of holes in it, guys. But if you think about, the most underappreciated parts of dynasties in professional sports, it's the owner, probably at number one. Like, why are the Browns, always struggling? Why are the Dolphins always struggling? I think it has a lot to do with the front office and the people that generally aren't at the front of mind so much. So Iowa State to have an owner, again, full of holes, in a president, a GM, in an athletic director like Jamie Pollard, and then the football coach and the basketball coach, that all makes this place, a university that has found a lot of success over the last decade. And I think Cook is probably, at least in line from what we know now, somebody who is going to continue that trend.
I like the analogy, although I think you should have included the Cowboys in that, just to make Jake feel good.
Well, my mom listens to this show.
Coffee.
My mom listens to this show, and she's a Cowboys fan, so I won't do that.
My bad. My apologies to your mom.
I'll be sure to be more careful the next time I come on here and trash my own favorite team, just to not make Ben's mom upset. But yeah, good stuff, Ben. Good work. Going from Sioux Falls to that press conference on that same day. I did not make that same decision, so you earned some bonus points on that. Let's talk a little football. There's not much to talk about from Saturday that hasn't already been shared on this podcast network or by any three of us in our individual work. So we're not going to spend too much time on that. But what came from that win is now that the Cyclones are officially bowl eligible and will be playing a postseason game. And Cardinal and Gold Report on Twitter, very solid follow, threw together some current bowl projections from I think 7 different publications on where they have Iowa State. It ranges anywhere from the Texas Bowl, Liberty Bowl, the Rate Bowl, and the Independence Bowl. Those are the 4 that are listed, all against Power 4 opponents, which I think is important. I'll go through them a little bit. So the Rate Bowl is December 26th down in Phoenix, Arizona, formerly the Insight.com Bowl. The Texas Bowl is the 27th in Houston. Iowa State, I don't believe, has ever played in that bowl. The Independence Bowl is December 30th in the metropolis of Shreveport, Louisiana. And the Liberty Bowl, which Iowa State fans are very familiar with, is in Memphis on January 2nd. What do you guys think is most realistic? We'll start with that one.
I'm going to go with the Texas Bowl. They did play in the Houston Bowl, which is interesting now that we've got the Texas Bowl in Houston. I don't know how that, but I think they played TCU in that back in the day. But I just feel like the Liberty has been so. Look, these bowl reps think about how often teams have been there. And, you could look at the Rate Bowl, too, as, being one that I would say hasn't been in very frequently. I just feel like the one that jumps off the page, if the New York Times, the Gray Lady, I don't know if that's is correct, but how great would a old-style Big 8, even pre-Big 8, battle with Missouri be?
That's the one I've got circled.
Yeah, I mean, there's intrigue in others to face a Minnesota team possibly in the Rate Bowl, which CBS Sports projects. But I don't know, it just by feel, that's where I think they could end up. But you never know. I mean, Liberty Bowl is, realistically, I think we all know that fans are not going to be nearly as excited about whatever bowl game they go to after reaching the heights they did last season. And after, again, going to bowl games so frequently. So you talk about, you go back a couple decades, it's like, oh my gosh, a bowl game. I don't care where it is, we're thrilled. And then people would be like Liberty Bowl fatigued. Oh, and we've been to Phoenix. Oh, and, it's a different, and again, with men's basketball heating up and all that stuff, a lot of people shelled out a lot of money to go to Ireland, too. We're not exactly living in a time where it's raining money for everyone. So either way, it's a really great achievement, and I feel like Texas would be the best fit as long as they can. I think regardless of how they finish, they could slide into that one. But obviously, the other ones are very. I've got a shared Independence Bowl story though. I covered the one against Miami of Ohio. And that is a trip, man. That is a trip. You think Memphis is a trip, Shreveport is a trip. And I mean trip, not in miles. They had a store back in like the 70s, a bunch of people, maybe if you looked at some of the old media guides, like they tried to recreate men's basketball this year where they're sitting on the steps of Hilton. Well, those guys were dressed up in one in the 70s, and they had the Sansa belt pants on. They had a Sansa belt store in a little strip mall in Shreveport in the early 2000s. That place is kind of, let's just say that Shreveport's got a lot of character. But I digress.
What would it take to get a Cyhawk Bowl, Cyhawk 2.0? Is that a pipe dream, or has that ever been talked about as a possibility?
So, it's never happened. I don't think it's ever been close. But if it were to happen, it would have to be the Rate Bowl. And you'd probably need Iowa to lose 2 of 3, most likely. So that would finish them at 7-5. It would be awesome. I think as far as storylines go, if you're looking at ways to better bowl season, you should focus more on stuff like that. Like I know this isn't a great example this year, but if you could get Oklahoma State in a Big 12 SEC bowl, why not? Like that, it's going to be better you're going to have more fans want to go to that. More people are going to watch it. And that's where Iowa State, Missouri, it certainly doesn't have the national appeal. And I don't even know how much of the pull it would still have for the fan bases. It's been so long. But certainly the older fans, that would still mean something to them. So I think the more you can tie in these old conference matchups, the better.
I totally agree. Especially as these bowl games continue to be less about the result and more about a glorified exhibition and glorified look ahead to next year. Why not bring 2 teams that have history, and why not make the game mean a little something more? If it's so easy to do, right? Like it makes total sense. So you want to sell tickets? Make it Cyhawk 2.0. Sell the shirts now.
Yeah. And other rivalries too, as you mentioned, Jake. Take that into account. And I'm sure to some extent they do, for whatever reason in the past, even what it looked like on paper, Iowa and Iowa State could match up in bowls. Sometimes, as you mentioned, it's the affiliation thing that didn't work. But I can't imagine bowl reps wouldn't want to do that, because that would jazz everyone up. I mean, that are Iowa's bowl fatigued a little bit too. I mean, unless they're in one of the top ones, I mean, they've been everywhere, right? So I think that would jazz up both fan bases and would do the same for a lot of other fan bases if you mix and match, bring together old rivalries or even dormant rivalries, all that stuff.
I think it was C-Dub last year or 2 years ago that he had a really good idea of doing a bowl draft. So you take out all conference affiliations and you just rank them, one being the Alamo Bowl or whatever, for an example, and 38 being the Independence Bowl or the GoDaddy Mowers Big Boy Bowl down in the Bahamas, whatever bowl game that is. And you just draft 1 through 38. So the Alamo Bowl can draft the most interesting matchup they can find. Oh, we can get Texas against Texas Tech in a year where neither of them make the playoffs or something like that. And that's going to be more interesting than the top SEC program that didn't make the playoff. Let's do LSU against, I guess, Baylor or whatever.
BYU.
Like who cares? Yeah, who cares about that? I think that's where bowl games should head, but knowing this sport, they probably won't do the thing that would be the most fun or make the most sense.
Dr. Cook, make it happen.
Yeah. Make them cook.
All right, well, we'll close with a little women's basketball. Signing day. Iowa State signs one player from Carlisle, Macy Comito. She is a combo guard, really, really, really skilled player. I covered her in high school, and it's just a one girl class for the Cyclones as it makes sense because they have so many juniors that'll be back as seniors and the way that college basketball works now. What do you guys think of how Fenley's building his rosters?
And a talented freshman group in there right now.
Yes.
So
that's another key.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, and you love to see them sticking with the Iowa kid. That means a lot. Jake, you've been there, you've seen her. I've just seen her stats today. Really impressive stuff she's doing at Carlisle, and also with the All Iowa attack team, which is what you want to see from any of these high school players coming through. So certainly, we'll see. I'm impressed with Iowa State's freshman group right now, so I trust that Finley found another one.
Yeah, they sharpshooter Sydney Harris is the only senior on the roster. So this is an intact team. The high value that Jada Williams brings, not only as a player but as a personality. I mean, this group is fun to watch. I think the ceiling, we talk about ceiling getting higher for the men's team. I'm seeing it the women's team, even though they haven't played anybody of consequence, and that'll continue for a while. But Reese Beatty, I mean, she is tough as nails, and like I want to say, I've done a freight train because of how much she just throws herself in there and plays with such pace and almost violence, almost like a Ryan Clanton type.
What a comparison.
Yeah, I mean, just because she says she's always been underestimated and has a chip on her shoulder and all that kind of stuff. The very strong freshman from Tennessee, but completely agree. Strong freshman class, great junior class. So you just want to augment, and of course they've been I'd say pretty successful in the portal. And there's always attrition too. Some players who don't get a role this season might move on, so they'll be looking in the transfer portal as well. So to get a top 6 ranked in the state of Iowa recruit to add to the group they already have, that's just a really nice complementary piece for Iowa State, and again a roster that so far is looking like it's going to put together a lot of games that are fun to watch this season.
Yeah, and as things often go, when it comes to like NIL and all that stuff, it feels like the women's game is always a couple years behind the men's game, and the women's roster building still feels more traditional than it used to. So like Rob said, on paper, Iowa State only loses one player after this season at Sidney Harris. You expect there will probably be one or two players enter the portal or something like that, but it's not like the men's game where you just expect 9 players to up and leave. And like you see, there's only one player going out, so we'll bring one player in. And then, they'll plug holes as necessary in the portal when the time comes. But I think it's exciting when you look just not this year, next year, all that talent that should be back, and the juniors will be seniors and the freshmen will be sophomores. Like it's an exciting time to follow Bill Fenley's program, and I'm very excited to watch them play some real opponents soon. They play Drake in the Knapp Center next week, so I'll be excited to make a trip back to the Knapp Center next Thursday. They've got their Coconut Classic tournament during Thanksgiving week. They've got Marquette on Black Friday, and then they'll play either Indiana, Gonzaga. So we'll learn a little bit more about this team in the next couple weeks as they play a bit of an upgrade in opponents compared to Valparaiso, not Stonehill. They haven't played Stonehill.
Southern
Sacred Heart is the one that was coming to my mind. Yeah. So I'm excited for a little more real competition.
Absolutely.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think that does it for this week's Beat Reporters. We're going to have a loaded show next week. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but I know the types of topics we're going to have. We'll have that Thanksgiving tournament to preview. We'll have Senior Day at Jack Trice Stadium to preview. We'll talk to the football team. I'm kind of bummed we didn't get to talk to them this week. We would have actually been able to ask them fun questions and not depressing questions the entire time. But we'll be back next week on the Beat Reporters here in the Northwest Bank Studios. Appreciate Kelderman Manufacturing for bringing us this episode.